Welcome, welcome. Let's see people coming in. This is a pop-up live, but I was meditating and reflecting on this morning, and I was like, do I make a video or just go live? Let's go live and see who's here. It's Friday night in Europe and Friday afternoon here in California. I'm in Southern California. So let me know where you're coming from when you get in. All right. So I'm going to start because then people watching the replay can just watch from here. I wrote down 10 resolutions to be emotionally healthy. And I plan to go through all 10. That's a bit much. I'm at my office right now, and I like here's my angels. And so I have 1 hour, and instead of I have 1 hour free, and instead of just sitting here relaxing, which I plan to do that still today, is let's go through these so that you can be equipped, so that you can have these tools, and not just tools. You're worth way more than tools, but you're worth having the tools too. I was talking to someone earlier this week about and I was doing my own type of session, and I was saying, well, if I figure it out, she's like, well, look at what happens when you keep trying to figure it out. You're not, she reiterated something I learned from someone a long time ago. You're not the figure outer. You are this soul, iridescent soul being, right? In a body. Welcome, welcome. You are this soul in a body. And so you're having this experience, and when you keep trying to figure it out, then you're just like watching the program instead of just being in it. So some of these tips that we're going to go over today, they help us. Welcome everyone. They help us walk through life with grace, with elegance, with equanimity, which is like equal balance, right? With his um, and so all right, welcome. I'm gonna start this for us so that people that come in later can just watch it from the replay. So welcome, if you're here, welcome. Say where you're coming from so that we know. Hi, Squidward, and or whatever. I don't always know if people want it, whatever. All right, so welcome. Okay, so I got these resolutions from this woman. I think she's a doctor as well. Yeah, Dr. Nicole LePera. And I love them so much. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, New York City. Lovely. I'm in Southern California. Saudi Arabia. Wow. See, I thought I'd get some people in the evening, so I thought I'd go live here. Welcome. Afternoon, after evening. Welcome, you all. All right, so let's go through. We're going to start going through. I'm in Portland. That's awesome. I've been not all the way up to Portland. I drove here one night from here to Mount Shasta, which is a long way, which is almost Portland. But my friend Elliot lived in Portland. Okay, so anyway, welcome everyone. They just dropped a lot of people in here. So we're going to go through these 10 ways to be emotionally healthy. And I got these from Dr. Nicole LePera. So I'm just going to read through them. Well, we'll just read through the first one. Okay. All right. So I am a psychologist in my day job. That's where I am. I'm at my day job. And so, oh, good. Good. Oh, okay. That, yeah, thanks. There's a lot of women in Portland have bangs. All right. So the first one that she had listed that we're going to add to is I work on my emotional reactivity. I'll pause before I habitually react. I notice how confident that makes me. All right. Now this sounds weird, but it's like normally we have like programmed reactions from childhood. Welcome everyone. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna keep teaching. Someone's asking me my favorite Turkish football team. I've been to Turkey, but I do not know their football teams, and so I'm gonna stay focused on this. But I'm welcome everyone. It's fun to have people from all over. That's why I was like, all right, let's go. Let's just be wild here and go live, because I could easily have just made this video for us and put it up, but I thought I got the calling to go live. So You know, you're not here by accident. Feel free to do the thumbs up thing so that people know it's right here. I think you just tap on the screen so that people know to participate or just to show up, or that it's going to be worth it for them. All right, okay, and um, so normally what we do is thanks y'all. We internalize things from our childhood, like the way our parents treated us. We take that in as if it's true, and so if they were. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that flu, but it's good to be in love. I just did this quote from Rumi and Jesus. I just did this 1 minute reel. I went roller skating this morning before work. Okay, so go here, see some clients, and then come live for all of us. All right, I just don't want you to be without. So, all right, so let's focus now, okay? So sometimes what we do is, we internalize how they treated us. So if our parents were off and on how they treated us, we internalize this certain sense of worth. And so when someone else treats us that same similar way, we react automatically. And so I was meditating this morning. So these tips that I wrote down from Dr. Nicole LePera, they were so like wah wah wah. They were so amazing and highlighted, and they just seemed like so perfect. And you know, we're being here in presence, and we're just showing up in live, and they look different, but that's okay. We'll get to the mystical side. I always want to teach the mystical side. All right, so I work on my emotional reactivity. I'll pause before I habitually react. I notice how confident this makes me. And so when someone does something that triggers you, instead of immediately going into that trigger, it's learning how to pause. And oh, thank you. Someone said you're beautiful. Huh? It's learning how to pause, and instead of immediately reacting to that, um, understanding, welcome, understanding uh, how do I want to consciously and intentionally react. And I wrote down, um, when you pause, welcome everyone. When you pause, you're going into this present moment. You're going into the unfamiliar. So this first way to be emotionally healthy is, instead of reacting, learn how to pause. And that seems really easy and simple, but it's like, why don't I? You never know what's going to happen when you pause. You're opening up all these new possibilities. But when you react the same old way that you always reacted, then we keep getting the same things. You know, I'm not trying to just lecture here. I'm just stating, like, this is what happens. And so someone taught it to me the other way. I was in this profound mystic experience. So welcome everyone, because we are mystic. All of us are. And it was like, just take this old record off and um, let it burn up and replace it with a new record. That's how sometimes people say it, psychologically or spiritually. Welcome. All right. So I wrote it down. I wrote that when you pause and stop going in your automatic reaction, then you're trusting in something higher, this holy way to open up for you. I call it like that. You're trusting God that something more can happen. But what happens when we go into our program reactions, we're going into something less, some reaction that we were used to in childhood that happened to us. And so we are repeating that. Welcome, everyone. Earlier, all these people were saying where they were from. People were from Turkey and all over the place, Portland. So feel free to say that if you want to write something. And just welcome. We're working on these resolutions to be emotionally healthy, but I don't want it to just be in our head, you know. But you're so worth it. You're worth these. These things were just so heart expansive for me. They were so revelatory that I wanted to share them. They're from Dr. Nicole LePera on X, Twitter. she came out with these at the beginning of the year, and I try to make all my videos timeless, so it doesn't matter what part of the year, but we're a little way into it already. And so I was gonna make a video, but then I'm like, oh, I'll just go live. So let's talk about these. Number two is I won't over explain. I kind of just did that one. Whoops. All right. And so if I'm misunderstood, that's okay. Being misunderstood is a natural part of life, not a personal rejection. All right. So this, like, if we just talked for a whole hour on that one emotionally healthy resolution that she came up with, we could. It's like, why do I explain? And ask yourself, why do I explain things to people? I say, I'm just doing this because blah 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 blah, or this is why I'm doing this, or when you write the text and then you write two more texts and you write this long text, why are you doing that? Ask yourself. I love that song. I always get songs from the Holy Spirit. I call it Holy Spirit. I welcome all people of all faiths, but I definitely, and so I get checkity check yourself before you wreck yourself. You better check yourself. And so it's like, check if you're responding in, oh, it's just 11:11 of live it, before you go into this over explaining. Ask yourself, wait a second, I'm noticing. Don't welcome everyone, they drop lots of people in here at once sometimes. And so ask yourself, why am I over explaining? I notice yourself without judgment. Notice that you're doing that. I'm over explaining, and notice that without judgment. And then ask yourself, what am I trying to get from over explaining? When I do that, I used to ask, we had this thing before where you'd call information and ask for a phone number. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, I just need this phone number. And it's like, what in the world are you apologizing for calling 411, information to get a number from someone? That's their job. They're getting paid to do that. Yes. So yes, this person here, I don't know if you want, anyway, is yes, the same thing for all of us, right? I always get this feeling, the need to justify myself or explain myself for the simplest things. Well, ask yourself what that's about, and I'll just be vulnerable here, is because I don't mind saying my own stuff. I don't always try to like pull that out of people. I always want to ask you, but you're free to hold, like, whatever you want to say is like, it's like, back in childhood, when you're not, and when you have a perfectionist parent or a narcissist parent, then you're never measuring up, or you always feel like you have to be measuring up. You feel objectified. You feel like you have to do this or that. And it's like, or they get mad at you. Sometimes, they get mad at you because you're just wanting love. You're like, can I have some more love, please? And they don't know how to love. And so as you get a little older, if they haven't done their own inner work, they get annoyed at you just for being. You feel like you're just an annoyance. And so it's like, I have to explain why I'm here on this planet, why. And it's like, no, for me, I have this faith, and I know that God created me for a purpose. I know that God created every single person here for a purpose. Your soul being on this planet, put in this body for specific purposes, and you have gifts inside of you and all that. It's amazing. It's like, for I know the plans I have for you. I think it's Jeremiah 29:11. But if you look at that, I welcome all people. If you look at that in the Hebrew, I have my Greek here, right? But in the Hebrew, it's like, this is Matthew, but in the Hebrew, it says like blueprint. I have this blueprint for you. It's like God and you storyboarded your whole life before you got here, but we forget that. Plato says we go past this river of forgetfulness where we forget that. But you have a memory, you have a remembrance. And so when you notice yourself over explaining to other people, then it's like, wait, why do I have to prove that I'm worth here for a reason? Like, why don't I just sit here for a moment instead of choosing that automatic response of explaining, and just relish being in love, being that I am made out of love, and I am love, and I have love to give, and I don't have to explain to people why I'm here. That's an automatic pattern of, am I looking, and this is one of the resolutions that's down here, is, am I still looking for my parent that I was trying to please and trying to get their attention and trying to get my understanding of my worth from them? Welcome everyone that came in new. All right, so these are just resolutions, and I can probably paste them down, and I'll just put her name so that we can credit where we got these from. I just wanted to add to these, and contemplate more with you all. So welcome. All right, so that was number two. I won't over explain. If I misunderstood, that's okay. Being misunderstood is a natural part of life, not a personal rejection. If people don't understand me, it doesn't have to pull up all this stuff and be a repetition of childhood. Okay, number three is I'll stop asking for input from everyone before making decisions. She says it this way, right? I'll get in touch with this quiet inner voice within that will never guide me wrong. And I put Holy Spirit always lead me. Like there's that meme that was like Holy Spirit activate, and it's just like, yes, God gave us an inner knowing. That's intuition. So there is this inner knowing, like and so um but there's different sides of ourselves. My flesh, like they call it, the flesh might say, I just want to go eat lunch right now instead of come live. And it's like, no, I'm going to choose to do this anyway. um, it helps, this group that at a church, they're all fasting for 21 days right now. And so then you have extra time to show up for other people, which is nice. It's lovely. All right. And so I so honor and appreciate you all showing up here right now for your time. And I just anyway, so see the just right there, Squidward. I'm like just. When you notice the word just, you can notice yourself without judgment. Don't judge it, but like, oh, I'm trying to justify my existence, right? Just. I know. It's funny, you can laugh at yourself. I was just talking to someone in here, and I was saying, like what Star Wars is, right? I can say my part, right? And I can say God always reminds me, it's in funny ways, so you don't judge yourself. It's like when Luke Skywalker is with his uncle Owen and they're buying R2 and C3PO, and it's like first they get this other R2 unit, and he's like, Uncle Owen, this R2 unit has a bad motivator. It's like, so it's not judging yourself, but it's just like, I don't need it. Like, we're moving to a different OS, a different operating system. This is a different motivator. And so welcome to the new you. You didn't know that this was going to happen. See, anything can happen when you go live, right? Is you have this, I'm so excited for all of you, and the people that come and replay too. God bless everyone here and everyone coming, right? Like really deeply in your mind, because you just ran into someone that's really deep and contemplative and loves you and wants you to have this love. And I just want to freely give this away because, I don't make money on my YouTube channel, and I haven't yet, maybe someday in the future. But right now it's just like, I just always want to just give. All right. So welcome. And so, all right, so when you notice yourself saying just, you're oftentimes you're trying to justify your own existence, and you don't need to do that. And so we're wasting so much energy instead of learning how to be in our being self, and just be like, I get my nails done like this sparkly iridescent self. I kind of need to get them cut, but then just be in that. Ah, good night. Yes, yes, I understand. All right. Um, okay. And so, all right. So everyone make sure while you're coming through here to thumbs up this, because that's how other people see with their eyes. They judge things externally. And so we keep doing that so they can see that they're going to get something that's so worthwhile. All right. Because I don't need the legs, right? Because our worth comes from this internal deep space of knowing, and from like, of course, as a Christian, I can say Christ came down from heaven and died on the cross and resurrected. It's like, and there's nothing that's going to take that love away. Like someone did that for each person in this world. And because of that, no one can say truly that you're not worth loving, because someone actually showed that. And so anyway, that's really deep spiritual truth. But all right. Um, oh, welcome. From Brazil, right? Welcome. Okay, so Rodrigo is your last name. Anyway, so I had a friend named Costa. All right, so So I'll stop asking input for everyone before making decisions. I'll get in touch with this quiet inner voice within that will never. So she said, she wrote it like that, it will never guide me wrong. And but it's like when you make a choice out of fear, out of that operating system, then then we're making a choice out of this. We're trying to fight system, or we're freezing or pleasing, or it's an operating system that's not your true self, right? And so when you come to this place of responding, listening to this inner voice, and it's like, why don't we follow that? You know, at one point in my life, I was noticing all these people around me kept being bullies. There was this theme of bullying everywhere, and it's like, wait a second. Sometimes those things are being a mirror. How am I being a bully to myself and saying to myself, you have to perform for me. You have to live up to these expectations. Um, and then it's like you see how you were being a bully to yourself, and you shift out of that, and it's like you stop attracting bullies around you because you don't need that lesson anymore. I know that sounds really esoteric, but it often happens that way. All right. And so number 4, resolutions for emotionally healthy, to be emotionally healthy. Again, these are from Dr. Nicole LePera. That was on X. She put these all on X, and I had written them down at the front of my journal. It's like, you are worthy of new beginnings, right? All right. So I will never match anyone else's energy. I'll practice behaving in ways that I'm proud of, even when others are lower versions of themselves. And so if we want to understand where that is in the scriptures, is this 1 Corinthians 13 is like, love is not easily provoked. Love is not easily angered. And so I wrote verses next to a bunch of these, or I had them in my mind. There are, there are, it's so amazing that every single one of these things that she's expressing, that she's found from her deepest self how to be emotionally healthy, I saw corresponding verses for. So there are ways that the Bible and Christ actually was teaching us how to operate in these more highly um, psychologically sound ways and spiritually sound ways. And so that's really what motivated me to go live. And I'll go to this number 4 one, but it's like I was reading in Matthew chapter 3 this morning, and I was reading from this commentary from the 1100s, and um, and it was talking about John the Baptist being born, but understand this spiritually. John the Baptist being born, and it was saying a voice. It was from a prophet from old, a voice of one calling in the desert, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him. Well, from that, like in the commentary, it was saying straight paths is to understand these things on a spiritual level and not just on a formal literal level. When you understand these things on a really deep spirit, and this was like an archbishop of the Orthodox Church from the 1100s AD, right? And so he was saying, when you just understand these on a literal level, then you will turn out to be a bully towards other people. But when you understand the deep mystical element of this and the deep truths of this, then your life just comes alive and can change. All right. And so anyway, so number 4 was, I'll never match anyone else's energy. I'll practice behaving in ways that I'm proud of, even when others are lower versions of themselves. And so I put, love is not easily provoked. And also, if you think of, welcome everyone, if you think of when Christ was being crucified and all this stuff, everything that happened to him, misunderstood all the time, it's like he never acted from a triggered place. And so he shows us how to be like that. And if you want to understand it again mystically, is if and I welcome all people of all faiths. So if you look at, like, Christ is called the King of Kings. Well, we're all called to be kings and priests in our life. We're all called to that. And a priest is just, it's a simple thing, all right? Don't make it really complicated. A priest brings people to God. So you're asking petitions to God for all these people that you love. and you're bringing God to people by just being loving. That's God is love. I have that plaque, remember? Have you guys seen my plaque from 8th grade over here? I have it back here, right? It's like God is love. All right. And so when you're loving, you're knowing how God is. That's God's operating system, because you're being truly loving. But it's like, how do we know how to do that? What does that look like? What is that? And part of these resolutions, these emotionally healthy resolutions, is it's like someone taught me mystically, this musician, I don't, it's a long story how I got taught this, but I got this vision of a record player, and it's like, if the the player part, that's, if it's when it's in the groove, it's playing the song, get into the groove, right? When it's playing it, then you hear the song and it's beautiful, right? If it's a beautiful song. But if it's off the groove, if it can't get into that groove and play that, this is old-fashioned record players, then it's just off alignment, it's squeaky sound or whatever. um all right, let me see if I can make sure to hold on. Oh, I forgot my moderator's not here to bye. Okay, so I know how to moderate now while I'm live, even if I'm on my phone. But I have a moderator, Chauncey. Chauncey, if you show up here, I'll start moderating. All right, and so all right, so go back to, this is the same thing as number 4. I never match anyone else's energy. I'll practice behaving the way that I'm proud of, even when others are lower versions of themselves. We just got that, an experience of that in the chat. But anyway, so where was I before that? Is understanding that you have this capacity to walk in love and to be in that groove, to play this game, play the game of love. I think I did a whole teaching on that Queen song. Is when you learn how to align back with love, then you're actually aligning back to the way that you were created to be. You were always created to be loving. That's how we were designed. And so when we're not walking in truth and we're walking in less than versions of ourselves, we're missing out. We're missing out on so much more. And so that was saying we were called to be kings and priests, and a king rules your passions. You don't, like that person was just choosing to let their passions rule them. Whatever's going on in their life, they thought that, whatever, I don't need to give them more attention, but it's like, you don't let your passions rule you. You are passionate about life. You're deeply passionate and vibrant in your life. Welcome, Scott. Welcome. And so hearts and hearts, right? Is so you learn how, so a king is generous and protective of the people and strategizes, and there's all these things that a king does. Now Christ shows us how to be king of our consciousness and king in our lives, and king by, like, he was like the lion and the lamb at the same time. But anyway, okay, so I welcome all people, but he definitely showed us how to rule in the right way, and how to yield. In the Narnia books, Peter was called the High King, and Aslan was like a Christ figure. And so, but then there was the emperor beyond the sea. And so it's kind of like yield to God. When Christ was in the garden, he says, not my will, but thine be done. And so he's yielding his fleshly self to this higher love self. And so it changes everything. All right. So, number 5 is I will stop gaslighting myself. I don't need to focus on the positive or tell myself other people have it worse, which it does help actually to do some of that, but I'll acknowledge it's painful and that my feelings are valid. Emotions fade when we stop trying to change them. So there's a lot in this one, but it's like, notice how you keep trying to change the feelings that come up. If someone, does misunderstand you and they don't want to have anything to do with you, and you start feeling that personal rejection, or what we were talking about earlier, Squidward, is like we feel like we have to explain ourselves or whatever. It's like, notice the feeling that's coming up. It's like, oh wow, that I'm feeling the same rejection that I had in early childhood. And it's like, And that is uncomfortable. And when it's uncomfortable, that's when we'll want to start explaining ourselves. But just sit and be present with it. It's like I hear in my inner mind, I am brave enough to be with this feeling, to let it be there and not judge it, and not try to do all these actions to try to explain to someone why I'm feeling a certain way. This is a practical step how you can stop gaslighting yourself. Gaslighting is going, oh no, you don't really feel that, or you don't need to feel that, or I didn't do anything wrong, or it's dumb for you to feel rejected. And it's like, no, you just feel it. And when you're not afraid of the feelings, when you stop trying to like wrestle with that, wrestle, I grew up in Texas, you're not trying to wrestle with that feeling, you just sit there and be present with it, then it's like it's all all of it's welcome, and it gets transmuted, and you have so much more energy and vibrance in your life to do these other things, and to be who you're really meant to be, because you're not doing all these actions of trying to run away from these old scary feelings that come up from early child. They're just feelings that are left over from early childhood. No, we don't want our feelings to like direct and dictate us, but sometimes we're so afraid of them that we don't leave room for them to just be there. I'm trying to remember. Welcome everyone new that just came in. I'm trying to remember, something happened the other day, an example for us. I know my kid misunderstood something. I'd sent him this text, and he misunderstood it, and then he was with me in the car, and it's like, instead of trying to explain to him, it's just like, why don't I just let him misunderstand me? Why does he have to understand that I was trying to do this and this? And it's like, what if I don't try to prove my worth to my own child, or to you know my spouse, or whomever? I don't have one right now, but I'm just saying, if we did, or if you do, right? Or my sister, or someone at work, or my boss, you know, we catastrophize. We think all these bad things were going to happen because when we were in childhood, here's the parent, and here we were the child. And like, I can't make my own mac and cheese as a 3-year-old. So I look to my parent. And so when they're absent, then we feel like we're going to be crushed and everything bad's going to happen. And so we try to do our little dance and be pleasing, or whatever we can, to get them to show up for us, because we need this parenting. And so we keep those leftover patterns, but they're no longer. Look, right now, look, you are an adult, and here's this old child part of you, and you can show up, and it really does make a difference. You might feel just as inept as your parents did to show up for this part of yourself, but one of the ways is just by allowing these feelings to surface, and by not gaslighting yourself and going, oh, you shouldn't be feeling that. If you've seen my channel before, I have this whole, it's pinned at the top of my Instagram, this how to move from should to ought to I want to I choose I like. This is developmentally the highest, is I choose I like, instead of keep shoulding yourself. These are irrational expectations you keep putting on yourself. And it's like, perform for me. It's like, I'm not no performing monkey. you know this one woman, Christy Jesse, on here, she's like, I am afraid of no ghost. That and that just is coming up to my mind. I know it's from Ghostbusters or something, and I don't even like, anyway, but it's like I'm not afraid to face anything that comes up. And as you learn to be courageous, this is emotionally, psychologically, spiritually really courageous, and it takes work, and it builds courage in you. It builds this faith. I have a post, like a note over my computer at home. I'm at my office right now, but that says, every time I enter into this present moment, I'm trusting that God is going to be there, right? God is love. That love is going to be there. That it's not going to be this face looking back at me going, "You're not worth loving," and like that sucked. That's a clinical term. Like, that sucked when we were a child. I'm kidding. That's not the clinical term, but it's like we hated that when we experienced that as a child. And so oftentimes we do anything we can to avoid that. And it's like, just be present. And it's like, in 5 minutes or so, you'll get through to the other side of that, and you'll feel so much like, wow, I can face anything that comes up. If there's anger, I'm not worried about it. If there's rejection, and it's just like, you're showing love by being present, and stop gaslighting yourself. We get so mad at, welcome everyone, at everyone else. We get so mad at them for gaslighting us. Well, notice how you've been gaslighting yourself. And when you stop, it's the exact principle. Like Jesus was saying this spiritually and psychologically, is like, when you take the log out of your own eye, then you can remove the speck out of your brother's eye, because it will just look like a speck. You're like, I don't care if they're doing that, because I stopped operating that way towards myself. All right. And so I'll stop. Number 5 was these are resolutions for being emotionally healthy, and they came from this woman, holistic psych on X, psychologist, Dr. Nicole LePera, and I just loved them so much. And I was meditating today, and I was brought back to these because they're at the front of my journal. Um, I don't mind. I think I can show them here. These are from her, and I put her name down here, so I don't think I have anything personal. If people want to take a screenshot of these for later. I added some extra notes to it so that we have our own stuff. But okay, so number 5 was, I'll stop gaslighting myself. I don't need to focus on the positive or tell myself other people have it worse. Well, I listened to this story the other day that the algorithm fed me, and I want to do a whole video on this, from this guy that was a medical student. He was like 23 or 24, and he got stuck in the Himalayas for like 5 days. I mean, 43 days he made it. All right. And so, and one of the things that helped him get through, and they said that up in the mountains there, um, that most people in these conditions don't make it past 10 days. And he was living in this cave and all this stuff. But one thing that helped him was, of course, like, he was a black belt in some kind of martial arts, so he had a lot of discipline in his past. But he had also volunteered or worked for a while in a burn unit, and he saw, like, I'm not burnt, my body is fully together, I'm just very cold. And he didn't have any food, he lived on just snow. um, after he had 2 chocolate bars at first. But I want to make a whole video, so I won't go into a lot of this. But he kept, some of what was helping him get through, was is he was remembering these people in a burn unit, and he was just like, they had to go through all this hardship, and to heal, it takes some time to heal. And so you're not gaslighting yourself when you do remind yourself that I'm not alone, and other people are scared of rejection, and they do all these things to run away from it as well. And so it's like, what did Gandhi say? Gandhi said, like, be the change you wish to see in this world. Or how I get it, I get a song. How does that song go? Long live the pioneers, rebels and mutineers. Hey, 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 living like we're renegades, renegades. I love that song. I love roller skating to that song. I love this deeper meaning in that song, where it's like, create this path, be a trailblazer. And all that means psychologically is that in our childhood of origin, we had all these experiences that weren't perfect from imperfect people, and that was the familiar to us, and that's what became familiar. And so everyone in this world, so many people, most people, they say like 95% of people are addicted to the familiar. All right. And so, like, bust out in song, go live sometimes, do things different, and start, or walk a different way home, or drive a different way home. Even just breaking out of normal ways of things that aren't harmful to anybody else, they're just teaching you it's okay to be different. You help wake up the whole world when you wake up. It's so mind-blowing and profound. I know this from feeling like I've had to climb Mount Everest a million times, in my life, and I know how it inspires other people. I do like the splits on my roller skates, right? That's just one physical way that God allowed, because I did gymnastics as a child, and then I stand back up, right? I do it in one motion. You can see it on my YouTube channel. I'm sure it's there in the shorts somewhere, in the short videos, the 1-minute reels. But it's like, that's just one thing I learned, because it's like, why not? Why not learn how to do this for your own life and to inspire others to think outside of the box, to not put limitations on yourself. Well, psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally, we can be this. Be Jesus said that. Jesus said that, right? He's not a liar as well. So, whatever religion and faith practice you are, he said, you are the light of the world, and you don't set a light. Here I have my lamp right here. Like, you don't set this under a bushel. No, you set it up so that it can light up the whole room. All right. And you're meant to light up the whole room. Whether you knew that before today or not, you can know that now. And the other day I was in this amazing meditation, and I heard that verse in a completely different way. And I'd love to make a whole video on that too. But it's like, when you get into your being self and know yourself as a being instead of a human doing, you're a being, you're a soul in this body, then it's like, wow, that is like a light that lights up every other problem you ever had in your life. It's like it diminishes it, because you're connecting with God is love. You're connecting with this part of you that was always made to know love and be love, and like be awake in this way. This is awake. This is when C.S. Lewis says in this book, Mere Christianity, he's the guy that wrote the Narnia books. I was best friends with Tolkien. I love Tolkien so much. Like, I'm always listening to Lord of the Rings. I just got finished with all three of them, the unabridged Audible. I've been listening to it. But C.S. Lewis says in this book called Mere Christianity, I might have it right there in my book bag, but that this transformation that's happening in you, and I think that God is trying to do this transformation in all people. But once you have the Holy Spirit, it's like you're born anew. And so anyway, but it's like he says, it's like you're changing from this a regular horse to like a flying horse. Or like a tin soldier that you used to play with into a real boy or a real girl. You're turning into this real thing. And anyway, and I think these resolutions help us get aligned back on this path. It's like there's some verse that says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, and then the next verse is like, for it is God who works in you. So and so it's both. It's like you're learning how to walk in love, because you were always meant to walk in love, and love is coming and invading in your life, and not in, you can accept it or not, but like, and transforming you, because once you know love, you operate in a different operating system. All right. Okay, so the end of number 5, just so we finish that one, is I'll acknowledge it's painful when it's painful, and that my feelings are valid. Emotions fade when we stop trying to change them, like stop trying to arm wrestle them. And I wrote down here in the blue writing, if you saw earlier, if you took a screenshot, I wrote, accept what is, in case there's only 17% or something of people that speak English, so the closed caption will go in all their other languages. Accept what is. I put, the Lord is my shepherd, therefore I lack nothing. Like, you're not saying you agree with what is. Like, if Eckhart's Tolle, this guy that writes about mindfulness, he's not coming as a Christian, but he says, if your car's stuck in a mud, you're not going to be like, yay, I am so excited that my car's stuck in this mud. It is still stuck. But if I keep trying to change it, or saying, no, it's not stuck, or I'm just really mad that it's stuck, then it's like the shift can't happen. Once I go, okay, I'm in this place where my bank account is like this, or where my car's stuck in the mud, or where I just got ghosted by someone. I have a whole series on from ghosted to enlightened, working through that process, because that process could just trigger all your worst fears ever. I didn't know what ghosting was. I had to have a 20-year-old tell me, like, oh no, you were just ghosted. I'm like, what was that? And so it's been 5 years since that happened, but it's like, it just triggered all these old wounds that were underneath that. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I was reflecting this morning. It's like, no, every single person that does you wrong, they're going to have to answer to a perfect God that loves you so much. And I'm like, I feel sorry for everyone. I feel sorry for people that mistreat others. Like, not that, like, none of us are perfect. So God help us stop mistreating ourselves, because we were when we were being bullies and gaslighting ourselves, and we still are in unconscious ways. So like, of course there's forgiveness, but I'm like, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to all these people. I just, like, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So I'm like, wow, Like when all of us come to the end of our lives, or whenever it's revealed to us how precious each soul being is here on this planet, every person that's ever been here, then it's like people are going to feel so, they're going to just see the reality of what it did when they put, when they acted in their unconsciousness as well, but they would put a boot to someone else's face. So it's like it's so freeing because you don't have to worry about it. Behold, I stand at the door, knock, if anyone hear my voice, yeah, I will come to him. Yeah, lovely. I love that verse. Revelation 3:20. All right. And so, yeah, wash me thoroughly. We just read Psalm 51, from my sin, cleanse me from my iniquity, right? Lovely. Thank you. Name, thank, thanks, glory. All right. And so we're talking about this psychological and higher level of operating way that Christ always showed by his actions. Now, I welcome all people of all faiths. Yes, lovely that you're here. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm talking about these truths and not saying all the verses necessarily that go with them. But I was saying earlier that there are verses that go with each of these. But you know, I don't always want to be preaching stuff. But I'm so glad that you know these. And I mean, I could say them all day long because his word will not go back void. But this is it. God is love. So that's a verse in itself, 1 John 4. But all right, so so when you're accepting what is, you're not saying you agree with it. You're just accepting, wait, this is what's happening. And you might have a jaded perspective. You might think that, oh, I'm being rejected again because you were used to being rejected in childhood. So you're making a negative prediction about an unknown future. So instead of like having this blank page and this is the future, you're making these negative predictions based on your past. You're putting those there, and they're holding you back from living life. And just show up and keep learning how to grow in courage. And part of that is when I accept, like, oh wait, I'm really disconnected from my spouse right now, what's going on? And instead of just trying to fix it, it's like, okay, I accept that I'm here. And what we've talked about already, the first five can really help you with that as well. They can help you with any relationship, your relationship with God too. All right. Oh, sick. Okay. So number 6, I'll stop making choices for my parents' approval. Parents, I'll put parents in quote. My life is for me, and this will free me from resenting them. Okay. So I mean, as a Christian, of course, and I is, um, I don't think our life is for us. I think we were made for such a deeper, higher purpose. But in this way, it's like my life is not about pleasing a parent figure. And so if you're the person you're dating, suddenly you put them in a parent figure and you disappointed them and you feel like you're a child again, oh, I better please them. That's not your job. That's not your job, right? And it's not our job to do that with our boss. It's not our job to try to prove our worth in this world on social media or anywhere we are, with our bank account, with our car or whatever. It's not a problem if you have, here's a purse, a nice purse. I'm not saying this is, but I'm saying if you had one or whatever, it's like, that's not a problem, but it's like, how long do we want to spend our life trying to earn our worth that way? So what happens subconsciously, this is a really big pro tip, and I'm just looking at the time because I want to try to get this in close to an hour, is um what I find all the time here in my office is when clients come in, and they sit on the couch or whatever, is we often try to go back to where things broke down in childhood and make a happily ever after. And there's nothing wrong that you want to do that. It's just, how long do I want to wait for these other people to get it that I'm worth loving? And it's like when we stop gaslighting, when we stop trying to explain and notice that uncomfortable, sad feeling underneath of like, oh, wait a second, I'm explaining because I doubt my worth. And it's like, all right, just sit with, I doubt my worth. Oh, I'm like, that is really uncomfortable, right? And it's just like, but when you sit there and go, wait a second, am I worthless? Am I really worthless? And it's like, no, I am not worthless. I was never worthless, right? You don't, I mean, I look at it like, in John chapter 1, John was a mystic disciple. He says, John chapter 1, verse 9, he says, Christ was the light that came into the world that lit up all men and women, all humankind. And so all of us have this knowing. Plato said, all learning is just remembering. And so even without knowing Christ as your savior, I just feel like God created us. And all of us, even if we don't believe there's a God, you have this knowing when you just, when you peel it all back and go, wait, am I worthless? You know, and you really sit with that. And it's like, no, wait, I'm I'm not worthless. That right? Right? I'm so glad you get it. Right? I'm so glad you get it. Um I appreciate that you're here. I'm glad you're here because it's nice to be interacting with real life people because I dared to come live and then you had this time, you know. I just trusted that some people would and everyone in the replay, welcome, right? Replay. We're just playing. We're playing this thing called life. You know, play the game of love. That's the Queen song. Play the game, play the game, play the game. When you, that, I did a whole teaching on that. I know, but I don't know if it's up right now because sometimes I took those down, but it's like, open up your mind and let your heart decide. It's a free world. Right, yeah. Don't play hard to get, don't play hard to get with yourself, right? Um, anyway, so okay, so you're welcoming all these uncomfortable feelings because you can, and you're learning how to be really strong. If you could, I could take my jacket off, you'd see my arms. They're really strong right now. Because I learned to do push-ups. I did 50 push-ups this morning, not in a row, 25 and then 25. All right, so guy push-ups, right? Because why not, right? Be strong. This is just, you can be strong emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, physically, all these ways. Why not? Why not be vibrant, live your life, right? Okay, and so I will stop making, number 6 was I stopped making choices for my parents, whoever looks like your parent, where you're trying to get the happily ever after. Notice, wait, I'm putting them in the parent role. They're not my parent. I can learn how to be a good parent right now and be loving and stop. Look, okay, I do this all the time in here with my clients. It's like when you have this, everyone's like, well, what does it mean for me to love myself? That's not going to do anything. It's like, no, right now you have been idolizing this. This is the child part of you, and this is this other part of you that's been going, hold on 1 second, let me go try to get these scraps from these other people. Here's some scraps. Oh, let me go try to get some worth from the world. Okay, your worth for now. Or I didn't bring my book in here, but I just wrote a book called 12 Ways to Heal from Trauma. Look, here's my book, or that book I wrote a long time ago. And it's like, now you have worth. And it's like, no, like your worth was before you created that. Your worth was after you created that. And so when you keep turning your back on yourself and going, try to run that and procure that from other people, because we learned to do that. Remember when we were little children, we learned to try to get that from our parents. Now just show up and you will feel all of this love. And this is like from 1 John 4:9, of 1 John 4:7 and 8. That's where it is, because I learned it as a kid. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. When you love, you know God, because God is love. And so when you actually line up to being truly, sincerely loving, not like, yeah, I'm going to go give you this quick fix. It's Friday. Let's go get that, you know, whatever it is. Instead of that, you actually just show up and let all these uncomfortable feelings show up, and you're being there for yourself. Yes, so precious. Yes, good. Isaiah 62, a jewel in his crown, a diadem in the hand of God. Yes, I love that. I love that. Thank you, Barbara. I love that so much. I love verses like that. They just like make me cry because I know they're so true. And you can know that. And you can't know that until you start being real with yourself, right? You can read the verses and try to shove them in your head. And that works some. I say with my clients, try to work from the outside in and the inside out, you know? And so both are necessary. They really are. All right. And so the second part of part 6 was, number 6 was, my life is for me. She's saying that, and this will free me from resenting them. Well, your life is for way more than just you, but your life is not, your life is, even if you look at how she's saying that, and I'll teach us the deeper spiritual element of that she was bringing up, is this. She wrote these, I already named her, Dr. Nicole LePera, and is, um, even if you look at your life is not for your egotism self or your flesh self to dominate. It's not for me to go, I want a chicken sandwich right now, or whatever. I want to go get coffee, or whatever it is that my flesh always wants. Our life isn't for that. You have a higher life. You have a higher trajectory. If you want to understand this mystically, when Christ said, "A new commandment I give unto you, love as I have loved you," that is like the highest love you could also ever have. The word commandment in Greek is entele. Walk in my telos, in this direction, walk in this way, join me on this path. Um, on X, you can see my pinned tweet. I'm DRCHERYLM. I have this pinned tweet for the last 10 years or so. I don't know. I was friends with this guy, Elliott Smith, and he had this song that came out after his death. He's no longer with us here on this plane, and it's called Dancing on the Highway. And it's so good about connecting with this higher way. I made a video to it so you see all these deeper truths that he's conveying, because we would have conversations about these deeper truths when he was here. And so it's like, of course, it's my what I was getting from our conversations and from when I heard his song, and just what I felt like I was getting from the knowing of having known him. But it's like dancing on the highway. I'm here. There's a line that's like, "I'm here at my station, so come on by if you feel like." This station, because I'm dancing on this highway. I'm having fun being alive, not being static. When you're in fear mode, spam call. I hope let me know if it's back for you, if I'm back. But when you're in fear mode, you get in this freeze and you get stuck. You're not dancing, you're not flowing. This love isn't flowing through you. All right. And so he's dancing on this highway. And you're meant to do that. You're meant to walk in this high path of love. And so your life is for these higher purposes. I would like correct that part or whatever, or like add to or illuminate that. And this will free me from resenting them. So someone taught me, this Jewish man that was our supervisor in Montreal. I worked at this McGill University McGill Hospital, General Hospital. And he taught us, when you resent, let's say you have all of these resentments, like you did this and this, and this and this, and you did this and you did this, and I could go on for a lot of pages. You keep resent is resentment. You keep resending them this bill. This is what you owe me. You owe me this. You owe me this. I owe. And so it's like, and so when you're doing that, again, this is why Jesus says, mystically and psychologically and spiritually, he's giving you this high consciousness truth, because he's walking in truth. So he's showing you, if you don't forgive these people that did all of these things, that does not mean excuse. He didn't say excuse them. They know not what they're doing. He said, forgive them. If you don't ask God and say, hey, these are all the trespasses. Other people have trespassed on me. That's why he gave us that prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's like when we walk over other people, and we're always meant to operate in love. When we don't, we're trespassing, and they trespass on us. We're not minimizing that. We're just saying, instead of resenting them and resending this bill and waiting for them to pay it, look at what that does. You're turning your back on yourself again and trying to get these scraps and trying to yell at them or please them or whatever to get them to see the mean ways they have behaved. And it's like, let it go and give it up to God and go, wow, God, I'm glad you're going to hold these people accountable. I don't have to. It feels more powerful in the moment. Like, I'm so angry. Finally, I feel all this blood rushing through my life, and like I'm standing up for myself because I'm angry. So it feels like you're standing up for yourself, but so does when if you had 4 espressos right now, you'd feel really alive for a few moments, right? And so you don't let that's like an angel of light deceiving you into thinking that it's offering you something more. And it's not. If you stay in your anger, then your anger starts controlling you, just like any, it's St. Paul said that any sin, when you sin, you become a slave to sin. And I don't want any of us to be slaves. Bob Marley saying that, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. you know None but ourselves can free our minds. But it's like, you're freeing it right now. It's like Jesus says, I came to set you free. And so set the captives free. This is mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically, all of these ways you're meant to be free. You're meant to walk in real freedom. And this is deep stuff. This is really deep. All right. And so if you want to keep resending this and stay in resentment, then you'll be stuck in this addiction loop. I do this all the time. It's like, this is when you notice you're in addictions. This is when you notice that you're walking the true spiritual path. You have downs that you feel like you just started over again, but you've noticed you're going on a trajectory and you're becoming something new. It's called Zoe life. And I have a whole video planned to do on that. It's in Greek, it's the word Zoe. Um, and so C.S. Lewis talks about your bios life, your biological life, and this Zoe life. When Jesus says, I came to give you life and life abundantly, it's this word Zoe. And the next verse after that, I didn't even know that's John 10:10. John 10:11 is, I am the good shepherd and I lay down my life. And it's not the word Zoe. It's suke or something. It's in Greek it is. He lays down his life so that we can have this Zoe life. So like that we can wake up spiritually. We're being made in this new thing. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Christianity on these terms, but like go look into it and see if it's not biblical, because I always want to stay biblical, and I know that it is. I'm not saying I'm perfect at explaining it, because we're trying to put these mystical truths in words. But see if you want to stay in resentment, and then when you do that, you keep resending the bill, and you're taking up all this time instead of learning how to be loving and then giving this love. Yes, good, Lisa, welcome. Zoe life, yes, this abundant life. And so then you start giving this life to other people because you know this love, because you refuse to stop staying in resentment. You choose forgiveness. And forgiveness is to tap into the divine and be like, God, I don't understand how to forgive this person. I don't know, but I give love beforehand, before they deserve it, before I understand this. I just know that as you have forgiven me and given me your righteousness through Christ, right? Dying on the cross for our sins and redeeming us, reconciling us to a perfect God. I know that you've done this, so I give the same love to other people, even if I don't understand it. Help me know your forgiveness. And when you start forgiving and letting go and going, wait, they are accountable before God, we're accountable before God, but the blood of Christ covers us, it's like, that's the sign of the cross. That just means I receive this blessing. And anyway, then and I don't want to get too religious for people that don't understand this, but it's so deep and it's so beautiful. But anyway, then you'll start knowing what forgiveness is, because you're operating in forgiveness. And so you start feeling it yourself, and you didn't realize you were withholding forgiveness from yourself. Anyway, and so you're tapping into the divine, you're growing in the divine. And you're growing this inner man, this spiritual man. It's more than a man or a woman, but anyway, it's this Zoe life, right? Just like you were saying, Lisa. All right. So number 7 is, when someone is rude to me. See, these seem so simple, but they get so deep psychologically. And we'll wrap this up. I'll do the last few pretty quickly, because this is an hour long, and I want to make our sessions like these sessions, sort of just like keep it within an hour, so people, if they're watching at 2 times speed, can watch it in half an hour, or just come back and watch the hour over and over again, and pause and like use your journal. This is my journal for this month, and start writing down what's coming up for you, so you can be really present and choose the good if you want, right? When someone is rude to me, I will realize they're fighting an inner battle. I don't fight battles that aren't my own, all right? So I just liked that principle. This is why I'm sharing her principles, is like her teachings that she came up with, resolutions for an emotionally healthy 2025. But I never want to say the date, because someone can watch this like 20 years from now and it's still relevant. All right, it doesn't matter what year this is coming to you at, right? Is when someone is rude to me, it's like, again, if their parents said, we're yelling at them, here's the child part, and they're going, you're no good, you failed your test, your math test today, or you forgot your library book, or whatever, in elementary school, however our parents were I don't have time to know you. Their backs to us, and you feel rejected. And so all of a sudden, if you were like walking by them to go take out the trash or something, and they're your neighbor and they feel rejected by you because your back is to them, you weren't trying to reject them. You're not in charge of all of their rejection. If they get in your face and they're like, why are you rejecting me? What's your problem? It's like, I don't have to fight that. People sometimes are rude because they got triggered, and no one taught them how to be present with these underlying emotions that come up with this, how to be loving. And so it's not always to make excuses. It doesn't mean like, just take it when your neighbor keeps doing that over and over again. You can be like, hey, you don't over explain yourself, or even you don't always have to explain yourself at all. Like we talked about that, right? It's like, but you can say, I'm taking the trash out, you know, I'm sorry that well, I was taught not to say I'm sorry, because then you're saying sorry for their whole baggage of problems. So, but it's like, I wasn't at all meaning to put my back to you. Um, and in your mind, it's like, I wish that person, you can pray. It's like, God, help that person work through whatever, however, because triggers are our teachers. And so that trigger can teach them what this underlying stuff is. And you don't have to be carried away by all these old, it doesn't take forever to work on your baggage. Just once you notice the baggage is there. And I've done videos on that. There's a video called Triggers with Tiffany. I was over at my friend Tiffany's house, and her kids kept coming in and out. And it's like, but it's so worth watching. One of my other friends just loved it. My friend Sean was telling me how much he loved that video. Okay. And so just for a second, let's understand a trigger is like, you walked and you were just walking to take out the garbage, but they felt like your back was to them. But it pulled up all this other baggage that they are not aware of. They're not aware of that. And so when you feel someone throwing the whole pie at you, or when you're throwing the whole pie at someone else, it's like what Shakespeare said, methinks thou dost protest too loudly. It just means you don't, it's just a blind spot. It just means, you know, that they have this pain. And the more we have love here, I drew a heart here, the more we have this love and bring it in, the more you learn how to just be present as your being self, the more it just like, the way Eckhart Tolle talks about it, he says, you're burning away this pain body that you were so invested in, that you thought was you. You're not your pain body. You're not your past pain. You're not your past rejection. You're not any of that stuff. All right, make sure to keep liking this. I love doing it. I'm gonna start doing that. I think I'm gonna start saying that, like when it's like when I care the least about people liking. You know what? You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't go for other people's approval. Make sure to like this though. So it's like I don't know what it is, a paradox. It's so funny. All right. So you tap on the screen twice or once to make the thumb go up. Then other people can know to watch this video. All right. Or anyway, when someone's rude to me, I'll realize that they're fighting an inner battle. I don't fight battles that aren't my own. I don't have to fight that. That's not mine to fight. All right. And so number 8 is, I will stop trying to fix other people while I neglect myself in the process. Non-intervention is a form of love. Let them be. Like I was talking about earlier, when I sent this text to one of my kids, and I felt like he misunderstood why I sent it, but it's like, you know what? He doesn't want me to explain myself. What if I just let him not like me, in this moment? I just sit with it and trust that our relationship was going to get repaired, and that I don't have to explain myself, and he's not my parent, and he doesn't have to like me all the time. He's not going to. I have another post-it note that says, I'm your mom, not your friend. I love you. Because I have to, set some, the text was just a funny meme thing I sent it, but he didn't like it. But anyway, so it's like, I'll stop trying to fix the other people, because then you're constantly focused on trying to micromanage if they like you or not. Who cares? Like, let go. You're gonna start flying like this eagle when you stop being invested in what they think and just keep being you. And you go back to, wait, why was I trying to get this person to like me? Why was I trying to fix them? I will fix you. No. It's like, I mean, we love that Coldplay song. There's a lot of good parts in that song, but it's like, when you notice yourself neurotically trying to fix someone, I have to do that with myself. I've made like over 1,500 videos. It's like, am I trying to fix the whole world? No, I want to remind you that you're already equipped. I want you to know how loved you are. I don't need you to change, and I love that. Once I get back to that centered place, it's like, this is hard. I don't need anyone to change. I don't need you to change. I don't need me to change. I'm already worth it before I changed anything. Like Christ still left heaven to come pursue each of us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him will have eternal life. That's the Zoe life. You get to have, when you put your trust and faith in him, you learn to have, and he starts transforming you, this eternal life. You will not perish, but have eternal life. You won't perish in your bios life. You'll be born again. The spirit life will be born in you. And some people, God is already teaching them this, and they don't realize. C.S. Lewis says that some people are already Christians and they're not yet calling themselves that. God is working on them. They're his. And he said some people, even clergy people, have walked away from this path, but they're still calling themselves by that name. This is a deep one. I could talk for a long time on that, but I'm not gonna. Okay, so I'll stop trying to fix other people while I'm doing this. But I'm putting my back to myself again. I'm saying, you know what? You're worth loving as soon as I can get the scraps from them and talk them into loving you. And that's a fear response again. And you don't need to do that. Just show up and be in your being self and see what surfaces and watch what happens. It's so cool. It's really, really, really scary, like it has been for me, but it's so beautiful. So much love starts unfolding. All right, and so non-intervention is a form of love. That's me loving my kid by stop trying to fix him. You know, that teaches my kid, you always have to go see if other people are liking you. I don't want to teach my kid that. Try to fix them and make sure they like you. No, don't waste your time doing that. Live, be your creative self. Be you, and embrace that, and like radiate that, and that will like attract the right people. And if the crows keep coming back, fly like an eagle. Eagle can fly higher than a crow. So if the eagle engages and turns their heart open to this crow that's pecking at their neck, it exposes them. But if they just keep flying higher, the crow falls away because the crow can't fly that high. All right, so be the eagle. All right, that's just an invitation. All right, we're wrapping it up. Number 9, I'll find time for creativity, play, and just existing. If you want to go look at the reel I uploaded, because I put, it's Friday, I'm in love, because I went roller skating before I came to work this morning. I remembered, because it was really cold here, California cold, so it's not that cold, like 56, Fahrenheit, but it's like, thought there was a rink that was open in the morning. I'm like, I can get there. And so it's just like, make time for creativity and play and just existing. And I put this quote from Rumi that says, whatever you do, wherever you go, be in love. And Jesus said in John 15, I am the vine, you are the branches, remain in my love, remain in the vine. Apart from me, you can do nothing. But later on in that same passage, he says, remain in my love. Just live in this love place. That's just what we're learning today. And people don't recognize, they don't understand that like Christ was teaching these high truths because they just don't get it. They're just like, you need to read your Bible. And it's in the Bible. If people could actually read and understand spiritually, then these truths would open up. But I do that by like sitting for an hour in meditation on just like one word in a verse sometimes, or whatever. Everyone's different. Like, if you're like a mom and you're nursing your baby, then God will give you insights through what you're doing. If you're working at a factory, wherever you're working, if you're a truck driver, whatever our job is, don't think it has to be like, I sit here and meditate. I'll go roller skate for an hour by myself and just be meditating on a verse then, but you don't always have to be multitasking. That's this neurotic thing where I always have to be doing something productive, Anyway, I'll find time for creativity, play, and just existing. I'll get more time in nature and in the sun. Then I'll notice how my mind gets more quiet. It's the best when our mind gets quiet, because most of us are addicted to thinking and trying to figure things out. And we're trying to explain everything to ourselves, and we don't have to do that. That's still an addiction. You don't have to be addicted to that. All right, one more. Oh, and the verse that goes with that is be sober in all things. It's like the work-play balance is be sober in all things. Like you don't have to be working all the time and trying to get your worth in all of these ways. Anyway, it's so weird when you don't take time to relax and just be. That's when people are like doom scrolling and just scrolling, or binge watching all these TV shows because they're afraid to feel their own emotions. So it's like we get them through other people's experiences on these TV shows. And I'm not saying there's a time for that. There's a time for that. All right. And so, but just see what happens when you get quiet. You don't have this neurotic addictive need to go do those things, or to like keep stuffing our faces with stuff. It's our eyes and our faces, right? Anything. Dostoevsky says, in the end, the world will be saved by beauty, right? And all of this is beautiful. This truth that I'm describing for us is so beautiful. And it is a kind of beauty to walk in this way of love and walk in your being self and know yourself as that. All right, number 10, I will express gratitude for the people in my life. Oh, like I got to with you, Squidward. Like the people in my life that make me feel seen and safe on a regular basis. I'll pour emotional energy into these people just as they've done for me. All right. And so, look, I'm being reminded of my ring right here. Is like I have this ring with 2 hearts, right? It's just like show up with the people that are showing up. Don't totally discard the people that are not. Like you can have boundaries and not keep trying to develop a close relationship with someone who just doesn't know how to be available. Let them be. And you don't have to try to see, we keep trying to go back to where it broke down, like I said earlier, and make a happily ever after with an unavailable person. You don't have to do that. Once you know better, you do better, and you don't have to do that. You can wish them well. And I, like, someone taught me they're a job for Jesus, like give them away to Jesus, like, or Christy Jesse, this woman said on YouTube, she says, like, just put that turkey back in the oven. It needs to be cooked more. Like, give them to God, basically. He's working on them, and God is love. And, but anyway, well, look, you express appreciation. I use the word appreciation instead of gratitude usually, but for people in my life that make me feel seen and safe on a regular basis. So I'll pour emotional energy into these people just as they've done for me. Well, I'm taking the time to pour some of my love and energy out to people because there's this verse that says, with the comfort you received, go comfort others, help others to come forth, right? And so there's a time for doing that. But in your intimate relationships, when you notice yourself to keep running after an unavailable person, you can just ask yourself, what's going on? Am I trying to talk an unavailable parent into showing up? Where am I afraid? I have a whole video about, I didn't call it this, I ought to have, Are You the Avoidant? It's about 3 videos ago if you're watching this live, but I forget what I called it, but it's about 43 minutes, so I remember the time. But anyway, but it's like, we keep trying to go, they're the avoidant one. It's like, but you are avoiding your own feelings. And sometimes that's why we keep being attracted to the avoidant, because they seem like they're all detached and we want to be detached, but they're really avoiding and numbing, and we're avoiding by running after the avoidant person all the time. And so stop avoiding your own stuff and be present. And I hope you enjoyed these 10 resolutions for emotionally healthy life, and the other insights and psychological insights that I got to bring in as a psychologist and as a person walking this faith path. It ain't easy, but you're worth it. And I appreciate each of you for being here and in the replay. So much love. Thank you. All right. Bye, y'all.